Okay, but so before we start, we're going to need, if you lay down on your back and you're needing head support because your posture's not good, you can always grab a little head support, either a wedge if you've got one, or a little pillow. So if it feels really uncomfortable to be on your back, don't stress your neck out, make sure. Natalie doesn't need it because she's really got great posture, so we're going to take that out. That's years of movement, thank you. You're going to need a strap. I've got a whole lot of straps down here, so you can either use a yoga strap, the cotton ones are cool, there's climbing binding, or just basic really cheap nylon binding. You can use a necktie as well. Cool. All right. So, first thing I want you to do is think about your breathing. Just breathing into your stomach. So you might want to, just for the start of it, place one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest, and just notice how you're breathing. She's a singer, I can tell. So for the purposes of what we're doing today with learning these movements is we need to direct our breath into the sides of our ribs. So if our stomach is rising and falling as we're breathing, it means our stomach muscles are not switching on. So I don't want a heaving bosom either, that's the other one. I tend to play the game if you were an extra in a movie and you had to pretend you were dead, that I wouldn't really want to see you breathing. So we're trying to direct the breath wide into the ribs. Beautiful. And then if we think about the pelvis, so Natalie's laying on her back. She's got the middle of her head, the middle bra strap, and the back of her tailbone on the ground. Neutral spine would be that there's a gap underneath the small of the back. So I'm just going to try and slide my fingers under there, and you can see her rib cage just popped up. So I'm just going to soften that rib cage back down again, so there's a little bit of pressure on my fingers. Everyone is really different in their neutral. So it's around about that measurement. Another good bone cue would be that pubic bone and hip bones are in line with each other, meaning if I put like a little bubble leveler on there, they would be level. So if I take Nat's hands, and of course if you're a teacher and you're working with someone, please ask for permission before you go groping around someone's pelvis, okay? So I've already asked Nat and she's okay with it. It's all good. So I'm going to go fingertips on my pubic bone, back of my palms on my pelvis. So Natalie can feel that triangular kind of situation there. If she was to flatten her back, her pubic bone would come up and tilt upwards. If she was to arch her back and go into a little bit more of neutral, the pubic bone would go down, the pelvis would come up. So you're going to find that nice little balance between the two. And again, everyone is completely different, okay? Beautiful. So we've got a nice flat bone kind of situation. We want to check that the ribs are connected, because they are, through obliques. And then if you've had someone put you on a real life ultrasound, then fantastic. But if you can't, I'm going to get you to use your fingers. Many allied health people are very dubious of the fingers, but it's helped me. So now I'm going to get Natalie to take her two fingers on the other side and find her hip bone. So I'm going to go in this side. Find your hip bone, and then just roll just inside your hip bone. And I'm going to push quite hard down onto the inside of her hip bone. What you're visualizing is like a bowl. And the bottom of the bowl is flat on the table, and that's the lip of the bowl. And I've gone just inside the lip of the bowl. If Nat was just to cover her mouth over and just give a little cough, you're going to feel a muscle bounce up into your fingers. So there's a couple of muscles we're feeling in there. We've got pelvic floor, we've got internal external obliques, we've got transverse. It's all a bit sheathy. I can explain that with some diagrams later. But for today's purpose, I say completely relax, allow the fingers to fall into the bowl, then close your pelvic floor. Now, what I discovered is that information is not exclusive. We have the internet now. We can access any information we want. We don't have to climb mountains and find gurus anymore. I think what the problem is now is we're inundated with so much information, we don't know what the right stuff is. So it's less about the information and more about how it's delivered. So the language at which you're using. So I might not be using the right language for you. So I keep going through the language until I get what I need. Meaning, I love the saying, communication is only as good as the response it elicits. If you're not getting the right response, you're not using the right words. So, the words I use immediately would be, close your pelvic floor. If that doesn't resonate, stop going to the toilet. For guys, it's like, you've just been caught peeing and someone's caught you. It's that muscle. And so what you want to feel in your fingers is a little, just a little hum under the fingers. Then you want to imagine stretching cling film, or you can say glad wrap, depending on the country you live in. Stretch plastic across the front of the stomach. Transverse is a sheath, and it's muscle actually down the side and muscle at the back. So the action is that kind of movement attaching around the back. And then you want to, and if you're not sure about that, you go back to completely relaxing. Have a little breath, close the pelvic floor, and then we stretch the cling film, and that's transverse. What we don't want is, we don't want over recrusion, because what can sometimes happen is your obliques, the muscles that attach to the rib cage and then to the front of the hips and the back of the ribs to the hips, they work like that, and transverse is like that, and they can sometimes get glued together with fascia and they don't move, and we over recruit, meaning we skip transverse and we go straight to the obliques. So it's not a lot of, it's not that kind of, you know, the fitness industry went through, you know, I'm going to belt you in the stomach, you know, and everyone was going to try and really over brace. It's not that much. So just mind, if you do have access to someone with a camera, get in there and go and see if your obliques are firing. So for today's purposes, all good. What we want to find, and what I encourage you to do, and I'll go now, you get your fingers and you have a feel too. I like to stick my fingers in there and feel. What you might notice as you start to go through the movements is that one of them might go, and switch itself off. You're not going to know that unless you've got your hands in there feeling it. So you want to notice at what point through the movement does one side go, or do they both go? Are they going off when you're breathing in? When are they going off? You want to find that stuff out. So usually in Pilates, the in-breath will create movement and the out-breath will create stability. So we'll do those movements on an out-breath. So bent knee fallout's the first one. Well, actually, the first one is breathing. Can you hold transverse on and breathe at the same time? If you can't, that's what you're going to practice. That's where you're at. Because I think the most important thing is to actually realize what your jump off point is. Where are you at? What do you know? These basics I want everyone to know. I want you to master them, and then your jump off point gets higher and higher and higher. Not to say that these aren't good exercises to warm up with and do for advanced people. They're skills that we need to maintain. So the goal here is to not let, I always go, you've got a bowl and you've got water in the bowl. Don't let the water spill anywhere. So transverse is on, and I go through setup. Setup's really important. Where's my head? Where are my shoulders? Where's my ribs? Are they connected? Am I in neutral? Are my legs in the right position? I've got feet in line with hip joints with a nice little gap. Is